basically, Malika, has no mobility, and it's not just about playing through pain or taking pain-killing shots. He literally cannot move. This is someone that has played through a grade 2 MCL sprain for 3 quarters last season in the playoffs. The Warriors are now hopeful for Game 4 on Monday, potentially for Jimmy Butler to actually play.
The Golden State Warriors took a huge gamble in Game 3 against the Rockets. The result? A Stephen Curry masterclass that made Steve Kerr look like an absolute genius. Hey, what's happening, everyone? This is Swish Culture. Game 2 of the Warriors vs. Rockets series was an absolutely atrocious example of a playoff basketball game. Between the fouls, the questionable no calls, the gimmicks, and the inevitable injuries, no one, not even the players, wanted a repeat. That became very evident in Game 3. After Jimmy Butler went down with a pelvic contusion, things looked grim for Golden State. The Warriors lost to the Rockets, and it wasn't clear when the Warriors would get back their Robin. While I was almost certain Jimmy would be back to play in Game 3, considering his MRI results came back negative, he never got the okay from the team's med staff lead, and thus his return has been delayed until at least the next game. Without Jimmy, how would the Warriors fare against a determined and physical Rockets team that's playing with house money? With Green riding his recent high, an unstoppable force at every level, Alperen Şengün getting into rhythm as the offensive engine, and the Warriors playing with only half of their superstar tandem, the Rockets had every reason to feel like the momentum would be in their favor. But boy, were they wrong. In news as predictable as the sun rising in the east, Stephen Curry single-handedly shut down the Houston Rockets in a wild Game 3 takeover that saw the Warriors point guard break yet another record and join the top 10 playoff scorers in NBA history. This loss for Houston puts them in the worst position they've been in since the start of the series, as the Warriors are back in control. Curry stopper didn't work, bully ball didn't work, and Jalen Green for 40 didn't work. What now? Let's look at the gamble the Warriors took, how they beat the Rockets, and why this win for Golden State sounded the death knell for Houston. Before that, however, be sure to like the video and subscribe to Swish Culture for the most analytical and entertaining NBA content on the planet. Now get ready. You're about to get Considering they lost Game 2, how would the Warriors adjust and counter the Rockets? As dependent as they are on Jimmy Butler, the Warriors' medical staff did not give him a pass to return in Game 3 versus Houston. This move forced Coach Kerr's hands as he elected to start Jonathan Kaminga as Butler's replacement. With Kerr keen on floor spacing, he elected to additionally take Moses Moody out of the starting lineup and replaced him with Quinton Post. Why Kaminga? For 2 reasons. Both he and Jimmy play the exact same role on the team, and without Jimmy, it handicaps the team severely to not play JK. The next and most important reason, however, is that despite his struggles in other aspects of the game, likely stemming from a number of issues we won't have time to discuss, he's a great matchup for Houston, more specifically, Jalen Green. If you recall, Green went for 38 points in Game 2 and seemed unstoppable. Statistically speaking, when Jonathan was guarding Jalen in Game 2, Green only shot 2 of 6. As a matter of fact, when guarding the Rockets, Jonathan Kaminga forced them to shoot only 2 of 12, meaning no other player in Houston managed to get a basket while being guarded by Kaminga, and the only one who did shot the ball at 33% in such scenarios. This has been one of the more salient issues surrounding the Kerr-Kaminga relationship. That is, if JK could play a defensive role at a high level, he could see minutes on the floor simply for this contribution to the team. We saw this exact situation play out in Game 3 when, upon starting, he was immediately tasked with guarding Jalen Green. It wasn't a surprise that Green ended up with 9 points on 4 for 11 shooting, a far cry from the 38 points he had prior and more in line with what we saw in his first game in the series. Thanks to Steve Kerr's pre-planning and JK's execution for stifling Green's production by denying him possession. On this particular play, we see the defensive pressure applied by Jonathan Kaminga, forcing Green to attempt a contested shot over Draymond, ending up in a blocked attempt and a fast break and 2 points for JK. The coverage forced the Rockets to try to beat the Warriors without Green's production, effectively stunning the Rockets' calling card from the last game. So what happened to the bully ball from the last game? It seems the refs got Ime Udoka's memo and decided they were going to call ticky-tack fouls to start Game 3. While this didn't last long, it did set the tone for the game. The first half seemed littered with dubious calls, meanwhile the second half seemed more or less fair game. The Rockets had a big advantage, getting to the line a total of 24 times to the Warriors' 15 and had the upper hand, getting up to a 12-point lead at one point during the first half. While a 12-point lead doesn't seem like much by current standards, this series is a bit different. Kerr has referred to this Rockets team as a more of an old-school type of basketball in their approach, and in these types of grit and grind games, 12 points aren't exactly easy to come by. Despite this, the Warriors managed to go on a 9-0 run on shots from Curry and Hield to close the first half. It didn't help that Draymond had some early game struggles with another night of 5 turnovers, going 3 of 11 from the field and 1 of 4 from 3, despite not being guarded at the 3-point line. He did play much better in the second half and did a much better job of taking care of the ball. So they shut down Jalen Green, shut down the bully ball. How did the Warriors actually come out on top? Twofold. Steve Kerr elected to go small down the stretch and was rewarded by both GP2 and Buddy Hield, who were able to step up, play off Steph Curry, and stay one step ahead of the Rockets. Take this play for example. GP2 inbounds the pass to Pods, who pauses just long enough for Curry to set an inverse screen. Knowing Fred VanVleet is going to vacate the painted area and stay with him, he screens Gary's defender, Jabari Smith Jr., who immediately moves to top lock Steph Curry. Brilliant play drawn up by Steve Kerr, because either Steph gets off VanVleet and comes off a Pods pick for a 3, or GP2 gets the backdoor jam. We saw this same play earlier in the game, however, although not as successful. We see the same inbound pass, Steph Curry cuts to the top of the key, and in this instance, VanVleet switches to guard GP2 and keeps him from getting a wide open look. The back cut worked in the fourth quarter because the Rockets were in panic mode after losing momentum and the lead, and Steph Curry was in takeover mode. While Moody still got the bucket in the early part of the game, that was off a broken play. During the fourth quarter alone, Curry had 9 points and 5 assists, bringing him up to 36 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks, 1 steal, and only 2 turnovers in 41 minutes. But it wasn't so easy for the Warriors. As a matter of fact, it was a battle of threes off the dribble between Steph Curry and Dillon Brooks. First, Steph hits Brooks with a left-to-right crossover and then the snatchback before pulling the trigger from deep to cash in. Brooks came back with a left-to-right crossover into a pull-up 3 and...
Brooks made the last one not so...
Well, that's not exactly how I remembered it. Good thing Steven Adams hung around the basket to pick up the trash. Steve Kerr's faith in the vets paid off as Green managed to close without late-game turnovers. GP2 managed to get downhill to the basket a number of times, and the Warriors were able to close out the Rockets. One last thing of note was Jonathan Kaminga's performance on offense. He seemed to be more focused on getting other players involved instead of looking for his own, and isn't quite engaged in terms of playoff basketball. While this could mean that his game needs adjustment for him to be as effective in a playoff mindset due to the lack of foul calls, it could also easily be argued that he's checked out. There's a lot of uncertainty around his future with the team at the moment, but nothing we can definitively point out without resorting to what I would consider too much speculation. A few articles opined on his offseason status as potentially signing with a new team, but that's something we'll discuss at that point in time. It's safe to say that expecting any sort of high-level performances from JK through the rest of the postseason would be a time-wasting endeavor. With Jimmy likely coming back for Game 4, we might have seen the last of JK in the postseason as of Game 3, especially considering he didn't see any time on the floor in the fourth quarter. But let me know what you think. The Warriors were able to beat the Rockets without Jimmy Butler. What do you think fueled the win? Was it just a hero game from Steph? If they're barely beating the Rockets with Jimmy, does this mean that he is not being maximized? Or is there something else going on? Post your thoughts in the comments below. Just be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all your notifications so you don't miss any of my latest uploads. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Swish!